If we could just ensure the landscaping around these 3 units is prioritized, we should be right on schedule for the grand opening.
I came home from Afghanistan to find 35 McMansions where my grandfather's cattle used to graze, construction crews, concrete trucks, survey stakes scattered across my back 40 like a suburban invasion. The foreman looked up from his clipboard and told me this was Willowbrook Estates property now, said they had permits and everything. My name is Jake Morrison, Army Corps of Engineers, third-generation owner of 47 acres of prime Texas land just outside Austin. My grandfather, who we all called Pops, bought this property in 1955 when Austin was still a sleepy college town. In 1978, he built a small earth dam on the property. Nothing fancy, just good engineering designed to collect rainwater for the cattle and help downstream neighbors survive dry spells. Pops always said that dam was for the community, not for profit. Margaret Thornwell, HOA president, pulled up in a golf cart before I could process what I was looking at. She had that particular southern sweetness that women perfect around age 45, the kind where they smile while explaining why they've stolen from you. She was married to the city councilman. That tells you everything about how things got done around here. Your family abandoned this land, honey, she said. We're just putting it to good use for the community. While I was deployed overseas, my sister had hired a property management company to handle taxes and upkeep. The taxes got paid. But Maggie's husband Rick had pushed through an emergency zoning change while I was gone. My family's agricultural land became a residential development zone. Then Maggie filed an adverse possession claim. Then she started building. What she didn't know was that I came home with 2 tours of water management experience in Afghanistan, and the instinct to dig through county records the same way I dug through IED reports. I found Pops's original 1978 dam construction permits first. He hadn't just built that dam himself. He worked directly with the Army Corps of Engineers. That meant federal jurisdiction. Local HOAs cannot override federal dam authority, period. Then I found something buried in a misfiled 1923 deed that made my hands stop moving. My great-grandfather had purchased senior water rights to the entire Willow Creek watershed. These rights were older than the city, older than the county's municipal water system, older than every foundation Maggie had poured on my stolen land. They weren't just stealing my property, they were stealing my water. My environmental lawyer discovered the rest. Maggie's HOA had diverted Willow Creek without federal permits, violating the Clean Water Act. The diversion had destroyed the entire population of Guadalupe bass, a protected species, and the kill report had mysteriously disappeared from Rick's office before it could trigger federal prosecution. The construction loans were secured by fraudulent environmental assessments claiming the diversion was temporary. The insurance application stated no seasonal flooding risk. Both were lies. And Maggie had done all of this before. Her previous HOA in Houston paid a $2.3 million EPA fine for an identical creek diversion scheme. She had moved to Austin just ahead of federal prosecutors to find new victims. I spent weeks calculating water flow volumes and mapping the original creek bed relative to the new foundations. My grandfather's spillway system hadn't been open since 1982, but Pops had built everything to last. I tested the hydraulic gates at midnight. Everything worked perfectly. At 7:02 in the morning, with federal EPA agents watching, I opened the spillway gates to 25% capacity. The sound was not what people expected, not the violent rush of destruction, just the quiet return of water finding its way home. For the first time in 18 months, Willow Creek flowed in its original bed exactly where nature had always intended it to flow. My neighbor Miguel Santos had farmed the land downstream for 3 generations. He knelt beside the restored creek and cupped the water in his weathered hands. "This is the water that fed my grandfather's farm for 60 years, he said. His voice broke on the last word. Maggie screamed at the federal agents to arrest the terrorist. EPA. Agent Kim calmly explained that I had the legal right to operate my agricultural flood control system. No homes flooded. The water stayed within the original creek banks exactly as 45 years of seasonal patterns had proven it would. Rick called a corrupt judge. Maggie held press conferences about dangerous veterans weaponizing water. When they tried to block the spillway by dumping concrete into the channel, overnight my cameras caught everything. Federal agents arrested the crew at 2 in the morning. In court, Amanda presented Pops's 1978 agricultural flood management covenant, which legally required me to maintain seasonal flooding for downstream agriculture. The EPA testified that my operation had restored natural flow patterns without causing property damage. Then Morrison played Rick's recorded phone call about destroying property values and campaign contributions. Rick stormed out of the courtroom. Federal agents followed him into the hallway. The judge ruled in our favor. Rick pleaded guilty to federal conspiracy charges. 3 years. Maggie faced $8.7 million in civil penalties and filed for bankruptcy. The HOA dissolved. The construction company paid $12 million in EPA fines and lost all federal contracts. I bought Miguel's family farm at tax auction and returned it to him debt-free. Mrs. Chen's garden irrigation system filled for the first time in 18 months. 3 downstream farms reported their best crop yields in a decade. I found Pops's final journal entry when I was cleaning out the farmhouse attic. His handwriting from 1982, open spillway today, helped the Santos farm and 3 others get through the dry spell. That's what neighbors do. He built that dam to serve the community one drought at a time. Maggie thought she could steal 45 years of that generosity with a zoning change and a forged adverse possession claim. Every Sunday now I bring a mason jar of creek water to Pops's grave. Same thing he used to do after heavy rains when he checked the flow. The creek's singing again, I tell him, just like you said it would.